So it wasn't until spycraft that we were able to talk about the amazing gadgets that really were part of our more current history, the Cold War. Now the CIA did take opportunity to review our manuscript before it was published. He had put it on the fast track, so only 2 years after we submitted it did we finally get the approval to publish it. Now the good news is that I was rather proud of myself in terms of exercising my own knowledge of what is classified and what isn't classified, because 2 years later the CIA approved virtually 100% of what we had initially written. So the book you see is really the book we intended to do. It features about 200 different techniques, gizmos, gadgets. These are either described, illustrated, or pictured in the book. Now for most of those, I am indebted to my co-author, H. Keith Melton. Mr. Melton, like many of you, is a successful entrepreneur, a successful businessman. In fact, he started in Wichita, Kansas, and his primary business was hamburgers. He was a McDonald's type guy, and has continued to do that throughout his lifetime. But he had a passion, and his passion was not hamburgers. Well, it was kind of hamburgers, I guess. But his real passion was to assemble the world's largest private collection of spy gear. So he did that. He's been doing that for 40 years. And he has things like the German Enigma machine, which was the code machine that the Germans had during the Second World War. More interesting to me, he has things like tiger poo that was, this is a replica of tiger poo, that was used to conceal sensors that we put on the ground in Vietnam along the Ho Chi Minh Trail to detect movement on that trail. Melton has special weapons like a cigarette pistol that was used for very close-in survival, and he has a receipt for making explosives out of common flour. And this is one of those that when you are served with your morning biscuit, it's likely to be your final breakfast. He has concealment devices for hiding codes and ciphers. Simple things like walnuts. And inside you can hide an entire code book, a reduced writing code book. He has a collection of spy coins. Hollowed out coins that are real coins from different places around the world, different countries around the world. And in a small hollowed out coin like this, spies will transmit communication with microdots. And if some of you can see in the middle of this, that little black dot is a full page of text that has been reduced as a part of espionage. But I think in terms of interesting stuff, I liked Keith's. This is concealment. This is yes, that's right. It's a suppository concealment. It is not designed for long-term use. But you know, in this, one can put really a pretty fascinating bunch of tools that are kind of used for escape and evasion, or for anything that trouble that a spy might get into. It's kind of the Leatherman of the Cold War, I would say. But there's nothing more exciting in Keith's collection. If somebody hasn't stolen it, than the freeze-dried rat. Now, as a concealment device, what is there not to like about our freeze-dried rat? Now, look at this thing. This rat, if you hollow it out, eviscerate it, it has a concealment cavity that's about 3 inches long, and it'd be probably about 1 inch in diameter, and you can get a whole boatload of spy gear in that. You can get money in there, you can get communications in there, you can get small cameras in there, you get all kinds of stuff. And this rat, yeah, it'll come as a surprise to you, but in most societies, this is kind of an abhorrent creature. And folks won't just commonly go around and pick it up from the ground. So the operational need, and this is how some of these guys in CIA think. You know, if we put our stuff in a rat and tell the agent to pick up that rat down at 5th and Iron, you know, at 2 o'clock tomorrow morning, most likely that rat will be there when the agent goes by. Unless, of course, a cat comes by earlier. Now, as I said, I think I mentioned that OTS had a bunch of chemists that worked for us, and after several years of research, I think they invested, you know, maybe a few $100,000 of your tax money. They discovered that if we treat these rats with Tabasco sauce, even the cats won't touch them. Well, little did I realize that our research into spy technology would actually lead us right back to Kansas, to Great Bend, Kansas, in fact. Now, that's the home of Jack Kilby, and Jack Kilby invented and patented the integrated circuit 50 years ago this year. What I've learned is that there is no technical event post-war that has shaped American spy gear more dramatically than that electronic miracle of Mr. Kilby. This IC revolutionized the way CIA secretly communicated with our spies, and it revolutionized how we clandestinely bugged our adversaries. The story actually has its roots going back to 1946, when the World War II ended, and a group of Soviet school children, probably high school students, they're probably that age, presented the U.S. ambassador with a replica of the Great Seal of the United States, a wooden replica of the Great Seal. This is actually a reduced version of it. The seal itself that was presented was approximately 4 feet wide, 4 feet in diameter. So the ambassador was very happy to have this and hung it in his office right behind his desk. And I hear some chuckles, so yes, 6 years later, somebody woke up to the fact that maybe something is wrong. And we woke up to that fact because it seemed like all of the ambassador's conversations, the Soviets knew in advance what we were doing. Well, in fact, then a serious technical sweep of his office revealed that in the back of that, or buried within that seal, was a passive device. Had no batteries, had no power associated with it, but clearly it was something that we didn't know was there, and the Soviets were doing something. We assumed it was a listening device, but we had no idea how it worked. In fact, we were so baffled by how it worked, we wanted to give it an appropriate name. And so for the next, actually until the current time, this is called the Thing. Very imaginative government work once again, but we did finally determine that this could be activated by radar flooding or signal flooding across the street and interrogated and conversations demodulated. Well, Western intelligence had never seen anything like this. We were shocked that we had it, put a top secret classification on it, and it was absolutely buried within the bureaucracy while we were trying to figure out a way to defeat it. Now, for 8 years, nobody knew anything about it until May of 1960, when Francis Gary Powers' U-2 airplane was shot down over the Soviet Union while he was flying a surveillance mission. Premier Khrushchev at the time used this to try to create an international incident. He scuttled the May 1960 Paris peace talks with President Eisenhower and just made a whole international scene about what the Americans were doing. Well, the Soviets railed about this, and 3 weeks later, our ambassador to the United Nations, Henry Cabot Lodge, was authorized to display the Great Seal, and they opened it up and suggested to the world audience that in terms of intelligence trickery, the Soviets had plenty of skeletons in their closet as well.